And I'm Nathan Bradbury, one of the solution engineers over at Intronis Technologies. I've been there quite a while, seen quite a few product enhancements, improvements, and I really got to know our customer base pretty well over the years. And really, when we're talking to our customer base, we found that, you know, there's a lot of good information that we're not really kind of presenting out to our customer base, and that's kind of where this webinar series came out from. And how to market, how to price, and kind of some of the sales aspects of the solution is something that all of our partners are really, really interested in. So kind of talking about different types of pricing, we really came across three really primary types of strategies that are out there. Ad hoc, managed service pricing, and kind of that hybrid approach. We're going to go ahead and dig a little bit deeper into it. So we're going to start with ad hoc pricing. So what's nice about ad hoc pricing is that this is really for customers that haven't quite made that transition yet into that managed service offering. They want to go ahead and they really want to provide the online backup solution out to their customers, but they're not really going to be managing it. For the most part, they're going to kind of just be offering it as another service, just another line item out to their partners. Online backup is a great way to go ahead and get your foot into the door into a lot of these customers to go ahead and kind of start getting those managed services in there. So they get used to that monthly recurring bill that's going to be given to them. Right now, more than likely, a lot of the partners that you're, a lot of the customers that you're probably billing out, it's one-time charges, and that's really all they're used to. So again, the online backup, when you bring it in there as an ad hoc service, can kind of get them used to that reoccurring billing process. When we're talking about different ways to price a solution when you're on the ad hoc pricing, a lot of times you're going to either go ahead and price it two different ways. A low cost per gig, maybe $1 or $1.50 per gig, with a lot of fees, or you're going to go ahead and price it at a higher cost, maybe $3 or $4 per gig, with very few additional fees. And we're going to go ahead and see another slide here that kind of provides some example on that. So when you start to go ahead and kind of play with that pricing structure, you can see, you know, we've got an example here of $3 per gig for 50 gigs at $150 a month. Or we're doing $1.50 a gig for 50 gigs, plus $25 for a local backup option, plus $25 for the SQL Server a month, plus $25 for Exchange, comes out to that same $150 a month. So what's nice in this example is that you're still making a good, solid, healthy margin on the solution, and you're able to go ahead and price it in two different manners. Oftentimes, when we're talking about ad hoc services, you're also going to be going ahead and you're going to be pricing it with some type of service fee associated with it. Whether it's $120 an hour, maybe it's more, maybe it's less, it's whatever your typical service rate is. A lot of times this particular solution on the ad hoc pricing, you're going to go ahead and you're going to be doing a lot of charging for the customer. There's going to be a lot of itemized billing for the customer. When we talk about hybrid pricing, this is where it's nice that we're able to go in and kind of charge the customer a little bit differently. This might be where you already have some managed services in the customers, and they're used to kind of seeing your face, not so much seeing it, but they're used to you kind of being there all the time. And this is for customers who really want to go ahead and get their foot really in the door with the customer and provide a lot of service to that particular customer. And with this model, it's very similar to ad hoc, but a little bit different in that there's, again, going to be two primary ways that you're going to go ahead and push it out to your customers. It's either going to be that lower cost per gig with maybe a monitoring fee, or that higher cost per gig without any additional fees. And both methods work really well for the partners in our community, and they've both been wildly successful. And again, in this case here, we're showing that it's $1 per gig at 50 gigs, plus $100 a month monitoring fee. Or $3 per gig, 50 gigs, $150 a month. Same exact fees are kind of going through. And what's nice about having that monthly monitoring fee is it basically guarantees your revenue on that account. And this is very similar with the price per gig. It guarantees you at least X amount of margin. So the next pricing structure we have is going to be managed service pricing. This is where partners can really go ahead and sell into their partner base. So a lot of the partners that we're dealing with are really starting to already have managed service contracts out there for their customers. And when you're talking about adding online backup to it, there's really a couple different ways you can do it. Again, two primary ways. You've got the include in the MSP offering, basically including maybe 5 or 10 gigs automatically in your offering. So regardless of whether the customer wants it or not, they're automatically getting it. Or you can go ahead and include it as a chargeable line item. And you can do it with the ad hoc style, or you can go ahead and basically just kind of charge it in as just a single line item where it's at $3 per gig. We also would encourage partners to go ahead and look at making sure that the MSP plan or the managed service offering that you're including it to the customer has that built in, so the margin or the management that you're going to be providing for the online backup is kind of built into that managed service offering fee, especially if you're trying to look to have as few costs to the customer as you can. Build in a little bit larger maintenance fee or monitoring fee, and then you just have that smaller line item for the online backup. So the next slide is going to kind of give us an example of what that would be. And it looks very similar to the hybrid approach, where you've just got the $1 per gigabyte, where you're making sure that you're charging for the storage that they utilize, and then you've got the $100 a month built-in maintenance fee that's added into their managed service contract. And these are actually all real-world examples that actually came from our partner community. And it's really nice that we can see that there's a lot of different ways that you can actually go ahead and charge for the solution, and ultimately, pretty much they're going to yield the same billable amount of storage, same billable bills for you, which is really nice. The next thing we're going to talk about is the pricing strategy itself. And when I talk to a lot of partners, they say, well, you know, what strategy should I go with? That's a really tough question to answer. And the first thing I'll typically ask them is, how are you currently providing services to your customers? Do you currently go ahead and provide a lot of line items? When you sell a customer server, do you go ahead and you just put the server cost, or do you go ahead and you itemize that server? Well, that could give you an indication right there on whether you should go ahead and charge just that one larger cost, or if you should go ahead and include lots of very little cost. And some of our partners will even go ahead and kind of experiment a little bit and break it down for some customers but not other customers. So maybe they'll have two different pricing strategies that are identical, just as we showed before, and present to the customer two different ways, or different customers different ways. It all depends on what really makes the most sense to your business and what you're most comfortable with. More than likely, if you've been in the business for a while, you've got a pricing strategy that really is comfortable for you to either present services that have higher costs with fewer add-ons, or lots of very low-cost services with lots of add-ons. Those are really the two primary ways we hear most customers kind of going to market with the solution. So again, whatever you're the most comfortable with is really the best way to go ahead and kind of bring your solution to the market. Value-added services is really a big topic. And we only have one slide on it today, but you know, it's something that's really important that you should really dig into with your business. And when we start to talk about value add, I like to go ahead and extend this way past online backup and really think about it holistically on your company. When we're talking about value add, we're talking about the additional services that you're providing your customer that you may or may not be charging for. And these services are basically differentiating you as a company from your competitors. Why should we go with you instead of this guy down the road? Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to provide you this, this, and that. Oh, those guys down the road aren't going to do that. We're going to go with you guys. And they can be sometimes very simple things like disaster recovery plans, quarterly disaster testing, backup restore support, itemized listing for bills, weekly check-ins, notification reports. It can be a lot of very simple things that are automatically included with the solution that you can just go ahead and provide out to the customer and say, hey, here's this. And it will definitely separate you from your neighbor down the road. The same thing with your company as well. If you guys can go ahead and add that little extra piece of something into your company, it'll definitely kind of make you a little more valuable than the company down the street. I like to think of value add with a nice simple analogy of like a BMW versus a Hyundai. And when you start to look at those two car companies, Hyundai is starting to come out with some pretty fancy new cars. They've got the Genesis and the new one out there. And they've got a lot of the features, a lot of functionality, and it's about the same price as a BMW. But I'm probably going to go with that BMW over that Hyundai any day of the week. So I know when I bring that car into that BMW dealership, they're going to give me free coffee, they're going to give me a loaner car if I need it, they're going to take care of all the maintenance, they're going to take care of me. They're going to give me a lot more value add than when I go ahead and I bring that Hyundai down to that local dealership they're just going to end up having me sit there and read some magazines a bit around for once. There's a lot more value add to the BMW than the Hyundai. Same car, same price, same everything. I feel like I'm getting a lot more value for my money with the BMW. So value-added services is really an important part to online backup, but it also extends really to your business as a whole. Kind of thinking about, why should a customer do business with me instead of them? So value-added services are really, really important kind of when we're talking about it holistically. Next, I'm going to pass it over to Alex, who's going to talk a little bit more about the marketing side of things.